What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the rabbit hole. Here, we're going to go ahead and start taking a look at some of our favorite topics, whether that's who's the best superhero, who would win in a fight, Captain Planet or Superman. Spoiler alert, that's probably an episode coming up. We're going to kind of explore some topics and discussions that I find interesting, and hopefully you'll find interesting too. And if you do find these interesting, make sure you comment down below to keep the conversation going. Or if there's any episodes or things you'd like me to discuss, make sure you do that as well. And before we jump into it, make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe. And go ahead and hit that bell icon to make sure you can stay up to date on all future episodes. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. This week, we're going to be looking at the top 5 worst heroes in the MCU. Now, just to clarify, when I say worst, I don't mean lamest or just bad heroes. I'm talking about those heroes who are great every other time, but they've made huge mistakes that have put them on this list, and trust me, they're all deserving. Before we continue as well, I would like to just state that this is my opinion, so if you disagree with me, please leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Let's get into it with number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have Spider-Man from Homecoming. Spider-Man is played by Tom Holland, and I will just start off by saying he is an amazing Peter Parker. He does so well in this role, and it's very convincing. He's also one of the few Spider-Man actors that I can actually believe is a high school student. Now, that being said, while he is a great hero and does a lot of stuff to protect his neighborhood, he really drops the ball on this one by getting himself involved with taking down the Vulture. Now, I'm aware that the movie ends with him doing just that, but it kind of makes you wonder, if he had listened to Tony Stark when he said just stay out of it, if he would have taken the advice that was given to him by a professional hero instead of thinking he knew best, could it have gone differently? He interrupts a federal agent sting on a ferry that they had orchestrated. He endangers the lives of everyone on that ferry. He really just kind of screws it all up for them. The bad guys get away, the weapons get away, and a lot of people are hurt. Now you may be thinking, it's not really his fault. Iron Man could have explained it to him. But why should he? Iron Man is again, professional hero. He's been doing this for a very long time. Does not really need to explain himself to Spider-Man. All he says is, leave it alone. Spider-Man should have taken it at that and walked away. Now again, I understand that the movie does end with him being the hero, saving the day, stopping the Vulture, and all that, and it works out in the end. But he really does take the long way to get there, which is why he comes in at number 5. Number 4. The Hulk from Age of Ultron. Now again, the Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, is an amazing hero. Mark Ruffalo takes the character above and beyond, and it's just exceptional. That being said, the Hulk decides to board one of the Quinjets and just up and leaves. I understand. He saw some pretty traumatic stuff when the Scarlet Witch messed with his brain, sent him on a rampage, caused a lot of issues. But for starters, that's the Hulk, and I understand he's not happy with that, but that's kind of what he does. That being said, the real issue I have with this is that Bruce Banner, the loner, never really had much in the way of friends, family, things as a support system for someone in his position. He gets that through the Avengers, even starts to develop a very weird cinematic relationship with Black Widow. And how does he repay this group? Not by approaching them and looking for support, no. He leaves them in their time of need. He boards a jet, turns off the communication devices, and just straight up leaves the planet. That's really unacceptable and kind of a douche move for the Hulk. Really screwed over his friends and family on that one, which is why he comes in at number 4. Number 3. Iron Man 2. Now, before we get into this, I understand that, yes, he is dying. He's suffering from a blood poisoning, and I understand that by acting out like that, he's doing the best he can to push his family and friends away so that they're not going to be too hurt when he does die. That also being said, let's take a look at the 2 specific friends who are there that he's pushing away the most. Firstly, you have Pepper Potts, the woman who has stood by his side for everything, including in the first movie where she's reaching into his chest cavity to reattach his new arc reactor. This is a woman who has done everything, including pretty much sacrifice her own personal life for the health and sake of Tony Stark. Second, you have Colonel Rhodes. Rhodes is probably the closest friend of Iron Man. he and Tony Stark have been through a lot together, and Colonel Rhodes puts his own career on the line to make sure that nothing bad happens to Tony Stark. How does he repay this? By hitting him in the face with a weight and blasting him with beams. Does not seem very cool, but whatever. Instead of handling his issues face on, which I understand for his character is not really the way he does things, but he chooses to instead make a mockery of what he does, destroys his house, hurts his friends. If he was to die, that would be the legacy he left, which is why he comes in at number 3. Now, these last two, I really do feel like deserve the top 2 spots. And while number 2 may not surprise you, I'm pretty sure number 1 will. So let's get into the last 2. Coming in at number 2, we have Thor from the first Thor movie. Now, Thor is a very interesting character in the sense that he does have a lot of character growth, but most of his movies kind of suck. I'm just going to say it, except for Ragnarok. The first 2 are pretty iffy. They're Odin, the king of the gods, and the king of Asgard, who is supposed to know best, tells him to leave it alone. So he handles this like any young, mature superhero would. He disobeys his father's direct order, grabs his weapon, his friends, and proceeds to invade another planet and just start killing people. Now again, I understand this is his character, and this is pretty much paramount to his arc and him becoming a worthy hero. But still, I mean, come on. Don't you think it was a little unnecessary to just show up and start bashing ice giants' faces in? And so that's what puts him at number 2. This one I believe very strongly in, and have talked about this to my friends and family several times. Number 1 is Captain America from Civil War. Now, throughout the series, Captain America is a beacon of hope. He's a beacon of right and wrong. There is no gray. He's even quoted in one of the movies as planting yourself by a stream and telling the world to move because you can't give up on your morals. So when push comes to shove, what's he do? He betrays one of his closest friends to save his other friend. Now I understand him and Bucky have a relationship that is much deeper and goes much further than him and Iron Man. That being said, brainwashed or not, Bucky Barnes did murder Howard Stark, the man who is responsible for creating Captain America, giving him his powers, giving him his shield. Do you not think that there should be some loyalty there? And I understand he didn't want Iron Man to kill the Winter Soldier, and that's understandable and that's respectable. But hiding him, helping him to escape and flee, not facing justice for the death and havoc he caused. And the worst of it all is the line when he says, "He's my friend." And you can see in the scene the hurt in Tony Stark's eyes, the betrayal, the loss, because this man who is supposed to be a symbol of truth and justice is willing to flip over and sacrifice what he believes in because it's not convenient for him at this moment. And that is why Captain America rounds off this list in the number 1 spot. Alright everybody, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week's top 5. I hope you enjoy it. And like I said, if you disagree with anyone on this list, please go ahead, throw that down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Make sure you tune in next week when we're going to be doing... Make sure you tune in next episode when we go ahead and do our very first Versus Challenge. We're going to be taking a look at a versus between Captain Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly versus Han Solo from Star Wars. I think these two are fairly great characters, beloved by both in their respective fandoms. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look and see who's the better captain. For now, I'm Brad, and thank you for following me down the rabbit hole.